documenting your life as it happens. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if for some reason this is the first time that you have ran into any of my videos, my name is Giovanni and I am a senior at SNHU online. I have been documenting my journey through SNHU since the start. And so today, I thought we would talk about that journey and why it's important for you to document as you're going through. Being in my backyard, which is where I am, today is Memorial Day 2026. I'm going to get this video out as soon as I can, but I think it's important that we talk about two things, actually multiple things, but let me get to the point. I have some notes here, so I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that I stay on topic for you guys. So that was the first thing. So I started doing these screen recordings basically. And a large part of that was to review what I had just learned. And as I was doing that and reviewing what I just learned, I would post that online. Each week, I would go to the end of the week and then I would review what I learned in kind of this really kind of quick format. And I think that kind of caught on with people. And people started asking me questions in the comments. And that's really how it started. So this was not like a content strategy. I didn't set out to do this or to become anything more than just documenting my process. So since this wasn't a calculated strategy, this was more like a survival instinct. I just wanted to make sure when I got done with this process. Now, keep in mind, I started school in 2021. So right after the pandemic, I started going to school and it is now 2026. And I've been taking one class every single month, year after year, since 2021. So if I can do this and document my process, you can too. And I encourage you to document that process while you're doing it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy for 12 years. I kept trying to go to school, and I did go to school while I was in the military. But while I was doing those things, I didn't really document the journey like we have the opportunity to document now. I can pick up a camera, sit down, grab a microphone, and just start talking. And then that is put into a document format, and we're good to go. So in the military, we document things all the time. Like all of our stuff is documented. So it was kind of natural for me when I got out of the military to continue to document. But one of the things I noticed is there was absolutely nobody documenting their SNHU journey. You would see people who would finish their journey and then they would share what it was like to go to school after they were done. And then what struggles did you go through? I don't care that you got your degree. I care what your struggle was like. Is it something I'm going to encounter? So I started recording my feelings. I started recording my frustrations. I started recording how much I was paying for tuition, because I know you may not believe this, but I have been paying $106 every single week since 2021. Even when I was switching majors, it was still $106 because that's what I told myself. That's how we were going to make it through this, instead of focusing in on going through multiple different like locations and school to school. It was like, hey, all you got to do is focus in on $106. And so that's what I did. $106, good to go. So how did we get to podcasting? This is something I don't think that people talk enough about when it comes to podcasting, especially if you're doing like a solo show or like a journal show like I do, is the recording is the reflection. So when I started doing my video content, I started working on a software called Descript. And Descript I loved because Descript allowed me to screen record. And then eventually after screen recording, I did some other work and started doing, studio sound and putting graphics together and things like that. So things started to really pick up when I started with Descript. And so I also found out that I could do audio with Descript and I could, put that into a podcasting software. And that is where, in my opinion, things change. And though I'm not saying that you have to do that, I am not saying that you need to go out and find some way to, podcast your life. Not saying that. I'm saying that you do need to document your life as it's happening, because when you get done with the journey, you will realize that you have, in essence, nothing to show for it but the sheet of paper and the amount of hours that you spent doing whatever particular papers, documents, or in most cases, lots of writing. You're going to have nothing to show for that. So that's part of where Descript, and then I transitioned from Descript to another software. I went to Riverside and kind of have stuck with Riverside out, ever since, because Riverside really works for my style of documenting, which is, it's almost like a newscaster coming to you with something, bringing it to you real and raw, and just kind of sitting down and talking person to person. Capturing life's transitions. This is something that I want us to talk about in the comments. Is I feel extremely strongly about being direct, and the whole like transitions that you go throughout school. And let me just give you a little bit of that. So you are going from your freshman year. Okay. So let's say we're just going to use a hypothetical example here. You are a 40-year-old male or female that has no children, but for whatever reason, you are ready to pursue your next career path. So you decide to go back to school. Your freshman year, when you go back to school after being out of school for a number of years, you are so incredibly like tired and scared and trying to figure out how you're going to do it. A lot of it's not easy. Like, it's not. So the only way that you get over the jitters of that is that you document during the transition, during the uncertainty, during the brain fog, and I am not saying that. Maybe you feel more comfortable doing that in an Instagram post, and that's where you keep your journal. But what you want to be able to do is look back over that and say, this is what I did in this time. That's key. So I'm in a mid transition right now, both in career. I'm in a transition in my life. I am going to be moving soon from Illinois to North Carolina. And so because of that, I am trying to figure out what that life is like. And I talk about that both on my podcast, and I also talk about that here on this channel. So if there's somebody who is listening who's in their transition right now, whether you are in career move, relationship change, location change, something's happening with your health, I want you to consider that the middle is worth documenting. Taking the time to wait for the resolution so you can show what it was like for you to go through something. That's not what people think of as transition. It's just not. So when you think that you have to be perfect, people are often caught by a regular individual doing regular things. I'm a regular guy sitting in my backyard talking about my school journey. Let me close with something that I think is practical, and a piece that I also think needs to be a part of this. And I want to make sure I'm saying this in the best way possible. You know what? I'm just going to say it. Lower your expectations of how you document your life. If you think that you have to have the grandest software, the big microphones, and the things, you could do this with a cell phone, put it on a stand, and sit there and talk. If you need examples of like what to use, what you could use, comment in the, I'll be happy to put that out there. I have content. I bought the things. I've done the, having all of the stuff that doesn't make it better. That doesn't make your content better. Your content has to reach people from where they are, and just being real and, being vulnerable, being in my backyard, which isn't perfect. But it's a backyard, and there's somebody in their 40s who is going through the same things and might be thinking like, what am I going to do? How am I going to go to school? And here's my answer to them. Very simple formula. Okay. And if you're ready, I'll go ahead and give it to you. Here's what you're going to do. Every Monday, you are going to go through and find out what schoolwork that you need to have. that is the first thing you're going to do. You're going to pull up whatever the week's content is for that week, get done with it. Once you get done with looking at what you need to do, okay, whether you like using AI or not, okay, you're not going to have much of a choice very soon. So you better get used to it now. Throw that into ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you want to do. I suggest that you work on Claude just because Claude interjects with a lot of the things you're already using, your Gmail, your Google Calendar. It already interjects with that. So that makes that very easy for you to go through and say, hey, I've got these classes, schedule them out this week. Here is the suggested schedule. I've given this schedule out many times, so I will make sure I give it to you. I'm glad you stayed to the end of the video because you're going to get a gem. I have always said, Monday, you grab your content from whatever platform you're going to grab it from, dump it into an AI, tell that AI to schedule it in a week. And if you use Google Calendar and you use Claude, there is a connector. So it is very easy for you to go there and say, Claude, go ahead and schedule this in my week. Here is how I would schedule it. Your discussion posts are due every Thursday. So Wednesday would be when I would get those discussion posts. So you would tell Claude, please schedule my discussion post every Wednesday. Look through my calendar and find a good time. Easy, okay? Don't make it more complicated. Your major projects and papers and major stuff that you got to write, that stuff is due on Sunday. So take that content and then let it know, hey, block out time, look through my schedule Saturday and Sunday, block out time for me to get my schoolwork done. Here is my suggestion. If you are just starting in your freshman, sophomore year, okay, you need 2 to 3 hours, period. That is non-negotiable. So you're going to have to say each weekend, split this up between Saturday and Sunday. I need 3 hours and let it do that. Once you get done with that, you will have a repeatable system that you can do every single week, month after month, because if you're going for your bachelor's degree, this is going to take time. So understanding you're not going to get done if you do 2 classes a time and all of that, and you haven't been to school for 7, 10 years, whatever, you trying to do 2 or 3 classes is going to burn you out. Stick with 1 class. Is going to take you longer, but you will succeed. All right. So I appreciate y'all riding this with me and being here through this content and allowing me to share my experiences with you. I just felt like recording this today. I know this is a long presentation, but for those of you that are looking for encouragement, my hopes is that this is encouraging to you. If there is something or a specific episode that you want to see me do or to talk about, you can leave that in the comments. I respond to every single comment. Okay. I do that weekly too. So spend the time. You got any questions for me? Send them my way. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.